10 years. 10 years watching the world fade more and more out of focus. 10 years listening to doctors tell me the same thing. Surgery. Always surgery. By 68, my vision had deteriorated to 20/80 in my left eye and 20/100 in my right. I couldn't drive at night anymore. I couldn't read a menu in a restaurant without a magnifying glass. My grandkids would run up to me, and it would take me seconds to recognize their faces. My eye doctor scheduled my cataract surgery for 3 weeks out, $15,000 for both eyes. Medicare would cover some, but not all of it. And then, something happened that changed everything. My 6-week checkup after scheduling the surgery left my doctor speechless. He looked at the results, looked at me, looked back at the computer. He ran a hand over his face, asked me to repeat 3 different tests, called in another eye doctor to confirm. The cataract in my right eye had completely regressed, gone. The one in my left had gone from a grade 3 to a grade 1. My vision was 20/30 in the left and 20/20 in the right. In 6 weeks, he asked me what the heck I had done. I told him. He shook his head, said it was impossible, said cataracts don't regress, that the lens protein doesn't regenerate, that he had seen thousands of cases in 30 years of practice and never seen a reversal like that. But the tests were right in front of him, objective, irrefutable. He cancelled my surgery, told me to come back in 3 months, and made me promise that I would tell him exactly what I did. What I did was simple, ridiculously simple. So simple that when I tell people, they don't believe me. But there's a reason why it works. A specific biochemical reason that most doctors don't learn in med school, because it doesn't involve medication or a procedure. There are Harvard studies about it, from the Mayo Clinic, from the National Eye Institute, but that information stays buried in academic journals that no one reads. Meanwhile, the cataract surgery industry is a $20 billion per year business in the United States alone. Let me tell you how it started. About 1.5 years ago, I was at my sister's house for Thanksgiving dinner. She'd made that recipe for roasted tomatoes with olive oil and garlic that our grandma used to make. Cherry tomatoes cut in half, drizzled with extra virgin olive oil, minced garlic, sea salt, roasted in the oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 45 minutes until they caramelized. The smell filled the kitchen. Sweet, intense, comforting. I ate almost the entire dish. My sister laughed, said I was eating like it was my last meal. I said, when you can't see right anymore, at least you can still taste. She got quiet, gave me that pitying look that I had learned to hate. We changed the subject. That night, back at home, something strange happened. I woke up at 3 a.m. to go to the bathroom. Normally at night, everything was a blur and halos of light. But that night, things seemed a little sharper, just a little. I figured it was my imagination. Went back to sleep. The next morning, sitting in the kitchen drinking coffee, I realized I could read the clock on the wall without squinting. Not perfectly, but better than I had in months. Again, I thought my mind was playing tricks on me. Maybe I had slept well. Maybe it was the morning light. Our brains fill in the gaps, right? We see what we want to see. But over the next few days, I kept noticing small improvements. I could read a street sign that was normally impossible. I recognized a neighbor's face across the street. Small things, subtle, but definitely different. 2 weeks later, I went to visit my sister again. She had made those roasted tomatoes again. This time, I paid attention. I asked her why she was making them so often now. She said she had read an article about lycopene and health, that cooked tomatoes with olive oil had 11 times more bioavailable lycopene than raw tomatoes. That lycopene was one of the most powerful antioxidants in nature. Antioxidants. I had heard doctors mention that vaguely. Eat your fruits and vegetables. Antioxidants are good, but no one had ever told me which antioxidants, in what quantity, prepared in what way, for what specific condition. It was always vague, generic, useless. But something clicked in my head. I had improved after eating those tomatoes. And now my sister was telling me that the lycopene from cooked tomatoes is 11 times more absorbed. Could it be coincidence? Probably. But what if it wasn't? I went home and started researching. Not on Google randomly. I went straight to PubMed, the US government's database of medical studies. I typed in lycopene and cataracts. 13 studies came up. I opened the first one. It was from Harvard Medical School. Published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition in 2021. The study had followed 35,000 women for over a decade. The women who consumed the highest amounts of lycopene had 46% less risk of developing age-related cataracts. 46%. But what made me stop breathing was the second part of the study. A subgroup of women who already had early cataracts and increased their lycopene consumption showed significantly slower progression. And in some cases, stabilization or slight regression. Stabilization or slight regression. They had written that. Doctors at Harvard had documented that. Cataracts regressing. It wasn't impossible. It was published in one of the most respected medical journals in the world. I kept reading. Another study, this one from the Mayo Clinic. They found that lycopene not only prevents oxidative damage to the lens proteins, but also helps to degrade and remove already damaged proteins through a process called autophagy. Autophagy. The body's ability to clean up and recycle damaged cellular components. The lens of the eye has this ability. It just needs the right tools. A third study from the National Eye Institute explained the mechanism. Cataracts form when oxidative stress causes the crystalline proteins of the eye to unfold and clump together, creating opacity. Lycopene, being a carotenoid antioxidant, neutralizes the free radicals that cause this stress. More importantly, lycopene crosses the blood-aqueous barrier of the eye and concentrates specifically in the lens. It goes exactly where it's needed. But there was a critical detail that appeared in all the studies. Lycopene from raw tomatoes has very low bioavailability. Only 2 to 5% is absorbed. But when tomatoes are cooked, especially with a fat like extra virgin olive oil, the bioavailability jumps to 50 to 80%. The heat breaks down the tomato cell walls and releases the lycopene. The fat dissolves it and allows for intestinal absorption. Without cooking and without fat, you're wasting your time. And it wasn't just any tomato. Redder, riper tomatoes have up to 4 times more lycopene than pink or green ones. Cherry tomatoes have an even higher concentration per gram. And the variety matters. San Marzano tomatoes. Roma tomatoes, organic cherry tomatoes, have consistently higher levels. I had all the pieces of the puzzle. Now I needed to test it on myself in a systematic way. I created a simple protocol. Every day, without exception, I would eat a serving of tomatoes cooked with extra virgin olive oil, always in the evening, because studies showed that carotenoid absorption is highest when consumed with the heaviest meal of the day and before bed. When the body enters repair mode, my recipe was simple. About 11 ounces of cherry tomatoes, sliced in half, 3 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil, 2 cloves of garlic, minced, sea salt. I baked it all at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 45 minutes and ate every bit of it every day. No skipping, no exceptions. This wasn't just a Thanksgiving side dish. This was medicine. The first week, nothing changed. My vision was the same, blurry. Frustrating. I thought about giving up, but something I'd read in one of the studies stuck in my mind. Lycopene accumulates in the tissues over time. It's not an immediate effect. It's cumulative. The studies that showed results took weeks, even months. Second week, small changes, very subtle. The light halos around car headlights seemed a little smaller. I could read subtitles on TV without getting quite as close. Again, it could be placebo, but I kept going. Third week, the changes became more obvious. I was driving during the day and noticed that street signs were sharper. I recognized a friend across the street without him having to wave. My wife, Susan, commented that I wasn't squinting all the time. Fourth week, I could read a book for 30 minutes without having to stop due to eye strain. The constant haze that covered my vision was dissipating, not completely, but definitely diminishing. Sixth week. My eye doctor appointment, the exams that left my eye doctor, Dr. Miller, speechless, the documented regression, 20/20 vision, the cancellation of the surgery. But the story doesn't end there. Because what happened next was even more revealing. My doctor, skeptical but intrigued, asked me to continue the protocol and come back in 3 months. He wanted to see if it was sustainable or just a temporary fluctuation. I agreed. I kept eating my baked tomatoes every day. 3 months later, my vision had improved even further, 20/25 in my left eye, 20/20 in my right. The cataract in my left eye had regressed to minimal traces. My doctor documented everything, took photos of the lens with the slit lamp, compared them to the photos from 6 months before. The difference was shocking. He told me he was going to present my case at an ophthalmology conference. And then he asked me a question that changed everything. He asked if I knew anyone else with cataracts who would be willing to try it. He wanted to observe more cases. I said yes. My brother Mark, 72 years old, had bilateral grade 2 cataracts. My sister-in-law, Lisa, 68, had grade 3 cataracts in her left eye. They both agreed to give it a shot. 6 weeks later, my brother showed regression from grade 2 to grade 1 in his right eye. My sister-in-law went from grade 3 to grade 2. Both reported subjective improvements in visual clarity, reduction in nighttime halos, and reading ability. My doctor started to take this seriously. He asked me to write down the exact protocol, quantity, preparation, timing, everything. Then he shared it with 3 of his patients who were on the waiting list for surgery, but wanted to try alternatives first. I can't reveal names for privacy. But I can tell you the results. Patient 1. A 74-year-old woman named Patricia, grade 3 cataracts bilaterally. After 12 weeks on the protocol, regression to grade 2 in the right eye, grade 1 in the left, vision improved from 20/100 to 20/50, surgery postponed. Patient 2. A 66-year-old man named Robert, grade 2 cataracts bilaterally. After 8 weeks, regression to grade 1 in both eyes. Vision improved from 20/70 to 20/40. Decided against surgery. Patient 3. A 70-year-old woman named Linda. Grade 3 cataracts in the left eye. Grade 2 in the right. After 16 weeks, grade 3 regressed to grade 2. Grade 2 to minimal traces. Vision from 20/80 to 20/40 in the left, 20/60 to 20/30 in the right. 6 people. All showed some degree of regression. All improved their vision. No surgery needed, at least not yet. This isn't an anecdote. This is a pattern. And the explanation lies in the biochemistry. Let me explain exactly how this works at the molecular level, because when you understand the mechanism, you understand why it works and why so many doctors don't know about it. The lens of your eye is made primarily of water and proteins called crystallins. These proteins are arranged in a precise way to keep the lens transparent. As we age, free radicals caused by ultraviolet light, smoke, pollution, blood sugar, and chronic inflammation attack these proteins. The attack causes the proteins to unfold. Unfolded proteins clump together. Clumping creates opacity. Opacity is a cataract. Conventional medicine says this process is irreversible. Once the protein unfolds and clumps, it's game over. The only solution is to surgically remove the lens and replace it with an artificial one. $3,000 to $7,000 per eye. $20 billion a year in the United States alone. It's a lucrative business, but there's a problem with this narrative. The human body has repair mechanisms. One of them is autophagy, the process by which cells degrade and recycle damaged components. Another is the action of antioxidants, which neutralize free radicals before they cause damage. And a third, less well known, is the presence of chaperone proteins that help unfolded proteins to refold correctly. The lens of the eye has all of these mechanisms, but it needs resources, specific nutrients, and lycopene is one of the most powerful. A study published in the journal Nature back in 2020 showed that lycopene doesn't just prevent the unfolding of crystalline proteins, but it also activates chaperone proteins, which try to correct proteins that have already unfolded. In lens, cell cultures exposed to oxidative stress. Lycopene reduced the formation of protein clumps by a whopping 68%. 68%. Another study, this one from Johns Hopkins, published in 2019, found that lycopene increases the activity of the enzyme superoxide dismutase in the lens. This enzyme is one of the body's most important antioxidant defenses. When levels are high, the lens protects itself. When they're low, cataracts form. And there's more. Lycopene reduces inflammation by inhibiting pro-inflammatory cytokines like interleukin-6 and tumor necrosis factor alpha. Chronic, low-grade inflammation is one of the biggest risk factors for age-related cataracts. Reduce inflammation, reduce the risk. All of this is published in peer-reviewed journals by respected institutions. But how many eye doctors actually read these studies? How many even know they exist? Medical education focuses on diagnosis and intervention, pharmacology and surgery. Nutrition is a footnote, if it's mentioned at all. So, when I showed up at my eye doctor's office with 20/20 vision and cataract reversal, he didn't have the framework to understand it. Not because he isn't smart, he's brilliant, but because this knowledge isn't part of the standard curriculum. And that's why I'm making this video, because information that can save your eyesight and save you thousands of dollars shouldn't be hidden away in academic journals that cost $40 an article to read. It should be available freely to anyone who needs it. Now, before I go any further, I need to say something important. This content is for educational purposes only. I'm not a doctor. You should consult with your eye doctor before making any changes. If you have advanced cataracts that are seriously affecting your quality of life, surgery may be the best option, and it's very safe when performed by competent professionals. Don't stop taking medications without medical advice. This is information, not a prescription. That said, if you have early or moderate cataracts, if you want to try a natural approach first, if you want to reduce your dependence on expensive medical interventions, let me give you the exact protocol I used and that I've shared with dozens of people over the past few months. The complete lycopene protocol for cataracts. Ingredients: 10.5 ounces of organic cherry tomatoes. Why cherry tomatoes? Highest concentration of lycopene per ounce. Why organic? Lower pesticide load, which can increase oxidative stress. If you can't get organic, wash them really well with vinegar and water. 3 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. It has to be extra virgin, cold-pressed, rich in polyphenols, which work synergistically with lycopene. 2 cloves of fresh minced garlic. Garlic contains allicin, another powerful antioxidant that boosts glutathione, the body's master antioxidant. Sea salt to taste. Preparation. Preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Cut the cherry tomatoes in half. Place them on a baking sheet. Drizzle with olive oil. Add minced garlic and salt. Mix well to coat all the tomatoes. Roast for 45 to 50 minutes until the tomatoes are caramelized and shriveled. The liquid will concentrate. The color will become more intense. That's good. It means the lycopene is becoming bioavailable. Consumption. Eat the entire portion every day, always in the evening, preferably with your main meal or right after. Why in the evening? Because carotenoids like lycopene are best absorbed when consumed with the highest amount of fat of the day. And because during sleep, the body enters cell repair mode, you want the lycopene to be available during that period. Timing. Don't expect immediate results. Lycopene accumulates in the tissues over weeks. In the first week, you probably won't feel a difference. In the second week, maybe subtle changes. In the third and fourth weeks, more obvious improvements. Between 6 and 12 weeks is when most people report significant changes. Some take 16 weeks. Be consistent. What to avoid while doing the protocol? Refined sugar. Sugar increases glycation, a process that damages proteins, including those in the lens. If you have diabetes or pre-diabetes, controlling blood sugar is critical. Smoking. Cigarette smoke increases free radicals exponentially. If you smoke and have cataracts, quitting is non-negotiable. Excess alcohol. Alcohol depletes glutathione and overloads the liver, reducing its ability to process toxins. Excessive screen time without protection. Blue light from screens can contribute to oxidative stress. Wear blue light blocking glasses at night. Optional boosters. Spinach, rich in lutein and zeaxanthin, carotenoids that also protect the lens and accumulate in the macula. 1 cup of raw spinach in a smoothie or salad per day is ideal. Eggs. The yolk contains phospholipids, which increase carotenoid absorption by 300 to 400%. 2 eggs a day with your meals. Wild-caught salmon, rich in astaxanthin, another powerful carotenoid, and anti-inflammatory omega-3s. 3 to 4 ounces 3 times a week. Signs it's working. Week 1. Probably no noticeable change. Don't give up. Week 2 to 3. Subtle reduction in halos around lights. Less eye strain when reading. Colors slightly more vibrant. Week 4 to 6. Obvious improvement in clarity. Ability to drive at night with more confidence. Reading for longer periods without discomfort. Week 7 to 12. Significant changes. Improved facial recognition. Sharper street signs. Measurable reduction in opacity if you get an eye exam. Common mistakes I've seen people make. Using raw tomatoes. Very low bioavailability. You need to cook them, not using enough fat. Lycopene is fat-soluble. Without fat, it won't absorb. Inconsistency. Doing it 3 days, stopping 2, doing it 4, stopping for a week. It doesn't work like that. It has to be daily, giving up too early. I've seen people stop in the second week because they didn't feel a difference. Accumulation takes time. Continuing habits that cause oxidative stress. You can't eat fast food every day, smoke a pack of cigarettes, and expect tomatoes to work miracles. You have to reduce the damage while increasing the protection. Now, I know what you might be thinking. If this works so well, why hasn't my doctor ever mentioned it? It's a fair question, and the answer is complicated. First, Medical education is focused on pharmacology and procedures. Nutrition gets maybe 1 or 2 classes in 4 years of college. Secondly, there's no financial incentive. Tomatoes can't be patented. There aren't any pharmaceutical reps pushing lycopene. There aren't any conferences sponsored by tomato companies. Third, confirmation bias. If you've been trained for decades that cataracts are irreversible, you tend to dismiss contrary evidence as anomalous. But the evidence is there. Studies exist. Clinical cases exist. And now, you have access to this information. What you do with it is your choice. Before I wrap up, I want to tell you about Barbara, 74 years old, bilateral grade 3 cataracts, vision 20/200 in her left eye. She was scheduled for surgery in 3 weeks, $15,000. She was terrified. She'd seen a friend develop a detached retina after cataract surgery, a rare complication. But it happens. Barbara contacted me after hearing about my case through a mutual friend. I gave her the protocol. She started immediately. Every day, 300 grams of roasted cherry tomatoes, 3 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil, garlic. She also added spinach and eggs because she wanted to maximize results. She cut out sugar completely, stopped drinking wine every night, started wearing blue light-blocking glasses. 6 weeks later, she went back to her eye doctor for her pre-op exam. He was confused. Her cataract had regressed from grade 3 to grade 2 in her left eye. Vision had improved from 20/200 to 20/60. He asked if she wanted to postpone the surgery. She said yes. 12 weeks later, new exam, grade 2 to grade 1, vision 20/40. Barbara cancelled the surgery permanently, saved $7,500 after Medicare covered their portion. More importantly, she avoided the risk of complications and regained her independence. She went back to driving, back to reading without a magnifying glass, back to recognizing faces across the room. She called me crying, said she'd given up, that she'd accepted that her vision was only going to get worse, that surgery was inevitable. And then she discovered there was another option, a simple option, natural, affordable, and effective. If you've watched this far, you've just received information that doctors charge $500 per consultation to discuss. Information that can save you thousands on surgery. Information that can restore your independence and quality of life. This information isn't kept secret by accident. The medical industry is a $1 trillion industry. Cataract surgery alone is a $20 billion industry in the United States. Channels like this exist to democratize health knowledge, to take information from expensive academic journals and make it accessible, but that costs time. Hours reviewing studies, hours verifying sources, hours editing and producing. The super thanks button down there isn't just financial support, it's you saying that information like this matters, that health shouldn't be a privilege for those who can afford it. That knowledge that can change lives should be shared freely. When you click that heart, and you're investing in more videos like this, more research, more natural protocols based on real science. You're not just a spectator. You're part of a community that believes that we can take control of our health, that we can question established narratives, that we can seek alternatives when they exist and are supported by evidence. Now, the question that's probably in your head, how long do I have to do this? Forever? The answer depends. If your cataracts have regressed and you want to maintain the results, I recommend continuing the protocol indefinitely. Roasted tomatoes with olive oil aren't a sacrifice. They're delicious. They're healthy beyond vision. Lycopene reduces the risk of prostate cancer, cardiovascular disease, and systemic inflammation. You're gaining benefits in multiple systems. It's like having Thanksgiving dinner every day, but if you want to reduce the frequency after stabilization, You can try 3 to 4 times a week instead of daily. Monitor your vision. Get regular checkups. If it starts to regress, go back to the daily protocol. Your body will tell you what it needs. And remember, this doesn't replace regular eye care. Continue getting your annual exams, monitor your intraocular pressure, check your retinal health. Cataracts aren't the only condition that affects vision in older adults. Glaucoma, macular degeneration, diabetic retinopathy also need to be monitored. This protocol is specific for age-related cataracts caused by oxidative stress. In the comments, tell me, do you have cataracts? How long have you had them? Has your eye doctor already recommended surgery, or are you still in the early stages? Type hope. If you're going to try this protocol, I want to see how many people are willing to take control of their own health. I'll answer the first 50 questions in the next 2 hours. And if you know someone over 60 who's dealing with cataracts, share this video. It might be the information that changes that person's life. It might be the difference between $7,000 surgery and a $15 a week natural protocol. The choice was always yours. You just didn't know you had one. This content is educational. Consult your eye doctor before any changes. Do not discontinue medications without medical advice. Individual results may vary. Always prioritize safety and professional follow-up.